Hello, my name is Paul McAllister. We're here at LendCity Mortgages in the studio. Today I have a special guest, interior designer consultant,
Yep.
right? Introduce yourself, your name, and
I'm Cass, guys. I'm so happy to be here, Paul. And I'm an interior designer. Interior design consultant is the official title. Although there's not much of a line in between there. I still pretty much do everything and anything that could pertain to a renovation or a remodel for your home.
nice. Yes, I want to hear about that, and I want to hear about this consignment stuff I see as well. But let's start off. I love starting off with what was your first real estate purchasing experience?
It was a good one. I mean, that purchase actually is what pretty much led me into interior design, I think. So we bought our first house in Walkerville in Windsor, and I loved it. I absolutely loved the house, but it needed like small little updates. And as we started doing those, I was just digging it. And so as far as the deal itself, we loved the house. It was great. We had a baby at the time and 2 or 3 year old. And so it was perfect. And then we just started growing and we outgrew the space. So we bought another one. But what I liked about the actual deal, before I got into interior design, I was in finance. I think you and I had talked about this for a little bit. Just basic personal finance, nothing too crazy. And when we were selling, I was intrigued. So the buying, sure, it was exciting. We moved in, loved it. But the selling is sort of what got me interested in how these negotiations work, the deals work, staging it, all of that. And there was something that the agent at the time, I won't name names, but they weren't my favorite, unfortunately. Again, I learned. And what had happened was we listed for a certain amount and we had 2 offers on the table. One was a cash deal. One obviously had conditions. She was rooting for this cash deal. And I knew that it was going to be a mother was buying it for her 2 sons who were going to university. This was our first house. We were emotionally attached.
How did you know?
She told us. Sorry, they presented.
A letter? Okay, they presented
Yeah,
in person.
this was way back
Way before COVID.
Oh, way before COVID. Yeah, so we actually had the agents present to us
Nice.
for the buyers. And so we knew that about the one. And then the other couple was a young couple just getting married, planning on having kids. And so I fell in love with that story, right? But she still wanted us to go for the cash deal. And with my finance background, she was trying to play me. And she said something to the effect of, well, I'm worried that the appraisal won't come back at the appropriate value. And I know, working in banking and doing loans and mortgages, that it's not always how it works. And so we went for the couple, and it just, that whole process was interesting to me.
So you chose based on personality, so that's something I do. My actually, even during COVID, he was trying to do this. So my personal realtor, he always likes to present in person.
Yeah.
He's just, and we write letters. We sometimes write letters about the situation, depending. Once you get up to more on properties, the letter isn't as good or as authentic.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it's like, I'm dying to get this. And, so letters mean something. And so I guess that's what people don't do too often anymore. But I think get people knowing, you made a decision. So what about the numbers though? Were the numbers the same?
The
or
numbers
were they
were
close?
basically the same. They were about $900 off.
Okay.
Yeah. So the couple with conditions was the $900 more, which was essentially right at our asking price, and the other couple was $900, or the other mom was $900 less. And she looked at me and she said, "Really, for $900?" I'm like, "This is not about the money, girl. She could have offered me less, and I still would have picked them."
So you were in the room when you made the decision when they were both in the room?
No, they had stepped out.
Okay,
and I was
so
just talking
your
to my
agent.
agent.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I love that.
Well, it's all about the story, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something I've really come to learn and accept is it's always going to be about the story. Yeah. It always is. And so even when I do, in the interior design, I'm always asking questions about who they are, what's going on, so that I can better understand them. Yeah. And obviously, even in that deal, it wasn't up to me what was best for either of these buyers, but it made the most sense.
Yeah, no.
Going for that family and that story, right?
It's kind of like giving your baby to your house to somebody else and hoping that it's looked after, right?
Yeah.
And it's in their hands.
Yeah, because I know we cared for it.
Yeah.
Right? We cared for it. I mean, we even, my in-laws have a cottage up north, and we took all these blue cool stones and we did all this landscaping to it. And so it meant a lot to us. And I wanted to give it to someone who was also going to mean a lot too.
Cool. So yeah, it's not always price. Those letters, keep writing them, the presenting in person.
Yes.
Those things matter.
They do.
Cool.
Yeah, they do.
You said you got kind of intrigued by that first deal of getting into interior design. So what was next? And like, yeah, what was your next step? Once you were intrigued, like, what did you do?
So I was in a fortunate position because I was on mat leave with my second. So I had the opportunity to play with a couple different things. And I was always a creative. I always just have these ideas. I'll manifest, all of these ideas and what is going to work, what's not going to work. And so that gave me the opportunity I actually played around with even being a photographer for a little bit. I'm like, what can I do? What do I want to do here? Banking is not cutting it. It's getting boring and all of these things. And so, it was just that creative outlet, if you will, but it gave me that little bit of time. And when I got to it, again, we did certain things in the house and there was something in even the construction portion that I liked. So it was essentially taking something from what it is, breaking it down completely, and then building it back up that I loved.
Okay. So you sold your house, you had the passion, you knew you wanted it.
Yes.
So how did you get your first clients? Like how did that experience?
Well, I'll go back just a little bit. So I ended up then taking an online interior design course.
Okay.
So I looked at, getting my degrees and all of these things. And I'm like, listen, I got a baby at home. I got another kid just starting school. And so how can I do this as easy as possible and give me as much knowledge as I need? So I ended up taking an online course. It was through the Interior Design Institute. The Interior Design Institute. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I got to give them a little bit of a plug because they're awesome. And they've even upgraded their program and course to work a little bit more with what's going on in the industry, be a little bit more online and things like that. So I took that online course and ultimately then I was like, how can I continue to immerse myself in these different avenues and actually figure out what it is? Because it's such a big industry. You can do so many different things with interior design. And so I just started looking for jobs, really. And I found a part-time job with a commercial interior designer in the city. And she was fine that I was part-time and still sort of working on my own stuff. So I started an Instagram account and I just started promoting online, interior design marketing online. And that's how I got my first client, was through Instagram. It was. And while I have to say, like, it's changed a lot and I don't get as many quality leads as I'd like through Instagram. But that was where I got my first.
They didn't know you at all? They just
Nope.
seen you on Instagram, was like, yeah, I want your services, come and meet me.
Yep. He was a bachelor. So he was like, this isn't my jam. What do I got to do?
You figured this out for me.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
That's
it was
really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
And so how many years are we talking now? How long have you been in this game?
Almost 9 years now.
So
Yeah.
you're a veteran.
Yes. I'd like to say so.
Yeah, that's a veteran. So I guess in those 9 years, any highlights that stand out to you in terms of, like what are the highlights? And I know that's hard to summarize, but.
I think what I really liked that I did was like I mentioned, I just immersed myself in different avenues. So after I worked for her, I actually got into advertising for a short period of time. And then I worked for a tile store. And I was helping all of the builders sort of put together all their plans and things like that. And so that just continued to give me all of that different experience, right? And after that, then I worked at a cabinet store. So it was really just about figuring out, of this big world, of this big interior design world, where do I fit?
Where do you fit?
Where do I fit? And what's going to help me keep that passion going? Because I know a lot of... and obviously I can't speak for anybody else, but when you do one thing for so long, it can you get sort of stuck in your ways. And I don't myself ever want to be that person that's like, well, this is what I've always done.
We have kind of where you've come from, where you are, and I guess on your journey. So in those 9 years, are people hiring you? Because I like to talk about real estate mortgages.
Of course.
I'm a real estate investor, coach, and mortgage agent. So are people coming to you before they sell their house? That's my first question.
I wish they would. But no. So generally it's after.
So when when they just get into, so is it more they just got into a house, they want you to come in and help them kind of do your thing.
Yep, you got it. Unless they're building. So I've worked with a bunch of homeowners who are building their home, and so then technically, right, they're sort of getting me in there before. But no, as much as I like doing the forever home stuff and making it personable, there is that element of keeping things maybe fun, interesting, intriguing, all of that, but knowing that it's going to go to somebody else. So as much as I wish they would get me in there before they sold, because there are certain updates that I think are worth it and not worth it, right? Where's your money going to go and how are you going to get it back? But no, for the most part, it's the after, and it's that forever home stuff.
What kind of updates would you suggest? If I called you and I said, I'm going to, my place is outdated.
Yep.
I want to list my place. What's the best bang for my buck for renovations? What kind of things would you suggest?
In a very general way, because again, everyone's different. Everyone has their own stories, including the house, the market, the people, even who they're gearing it towards. So it's tough to answer that. Kitchens and bathrooms will always sell houses. And I always like to think of it from a very intentional standpoint. So whatever I do, even if something ends up happening in the project and we can't get what we want for whatever reason, how can we still make it look like it was done on purpose? So even when you're selling, that's usually my thing, is how do you make it done like it was intentional? So one of my biggest pet peeves is going to be the mismatched flooring. That is going to be one of my biggest pet peeves. If you are selling and you have 300 different types of flooring, you got to keep it consistent. That would be one of my number ones, because again, you're fairly cost effective in that. Yeah. In that sense, right? Knowing that you're going to sell, but keeping it cohesive and flowing and all of that. So kitchens and bathrooms will always sell, but even if you've got 2-3 bathrooms, just one essentially has to be that like showstopper.
Yes. No, that's the same advice I would give. Kitchen and bathrooms always sell. And and then I guess it wouldn't be interior design, but adding a bedroom that never hurts.
Yeah.
And then the other easy things is flooring and trim.
Yep. And paint, of course, right?
Paint.
A fresh coat of paint, that's pretty obvious. And then I would really look at, this is going to sound so silly, but the light switches.
Oh, 100%. No, I agree though. So I was going to say that's like what you just said is a list that I actually recommend to investors or to people trying to add value to the properties. The switches, the plugs.
Yep.
Just they're so cheap to change. It looks like, oh, I changed all my electrical, and all you did is change that little plug from the old circular, outdated plug to the nice little flat.
And that's the thing, like it doesn't take too much, even light fixtures, right? So if you don't want to get into any renovations, even if you don't want to rip up your flooring, right? The paint, the trim, the switches, and some light fixtures.
No, that's my exact list.
Yeah.
That's what I do for my personal investments all the time. Every time. I always, that old Balby light, it's like $19, like the one.
The boob one?
Yeah. the boob one.
Listen, it's got a nipple on it and everything, okay? Those gotta go. They gotta go.
That's
so
funny.
Because, I mean, even those, like you can get cute, simple ones for like $30, $60. $30 or $60 from Home Depot. Sure. And so change out the boob lights, guys.
And I've kept, so this is going to get into a good segment. So I've kept them. I was like, I don't like throwing it out. My contractor is always just like, throw this out, throw that out. And I'm trying to save wood. He's throwing it out. And at night I'm going in the bin and taking it out and putting it all stock. And that was where I started. Like when I started, I was doing that. And he's like, we need to go get 2x4s. I was like, I've been taking, I got 2x4s. We can reuse it. And he's like, I don't use no. And like he was like, there's no way I'm using used wood.
Hard no.
And he's got me over I've done 6 renovations during COVID. And it took me about 3 of them to finally realize that, okay, you have the resources there. You might as well just get the proper materials because the cost is the same for the labor.
Yeah.
So, don't cheap out on the materials when you have this good labor there. I've learned that lesson. For sure. No used wood. Honestly, he's going to tease me from when he watches this.
And I think there's different ways to go about it too. There's things worth salvaging and some things like you just got to consider it. What do they call it? A sunk cost.
Yes. No, for sure.
Yeah, you're going to have those sunk costs. And I like what you said there, though, about, you're going to pay for it anyway. It is. So there's something, actually, I think I said this on my live the other day, too, of it's not my quote, so I won't take credit for it, but it is buy the best and you'll only cry once.
Yes. Agreed.
Right? When you try to cheap out, it's just going to cause more problems and headaches. And, what's your time worth? What's your sanity worth and your stress?
Honestly, I see so many times people buy cheaper and think it's cheaper, but actually the more expensive is cheaper.
Yeah.
And the reason is, you're replacing it quicker. It's not lasting. Yeah. It's looking like junk. Mm-hmm. It's like when people say, I was like, oh, how much is to paint those 2 units? Well, I was like, I think it's $4,000. And they're like, oof, I can do that for $500. I'm doing it myself. And so I've learned that lesson.
Yes.
Where you try to do it yourself.
Yep.
Like I have a rule. Never, ever paint fresh drywall. Get a painter. Fresh drywall. Once you mess it up, it's messed up forever.
Yeah.
My lines of drips are there for the eternity. You can get someone to come and try to fix it, but fresh drywall, I will never paint again, ever and again. I've done it myself. I've done it. And it looked okay.
Yeah.
But I've had bad experiences, and I've ruined fresh drywall. I remember the drywaller. They had it all nice, whatever. And then I hired someone for $10 an hour, $15 an hour recently to paint it. And I went there, and I'm just like, oh, the real painter came, and he was like, you just ruined everything we did. He's like, I don't know why you would not pay us.
That hurts my designer heart.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? So I've learned that don't cheap out, actually spend the money properly. And I think it leads me into the next part I want to focus on is your consignment stuff. In those 6 renovations, especially during COVID, I have extras of everything. Extra bathroom lights, two extra range fans. I have so much I have boob lights, the
can't
bedroom
help you
lights.
with those though.
I have those lights, and I'm just like, what am I ever gonna do with them?
Yeah.
I have so much stuff. So tell me about this consignment stuff that I see. So how's that? How's that work, and how'd that start?
I'll probably go off on a little bit of a tangent about it too. So I started this consignment essentially for what you're saying. I'm in these people's houses. They've got furniture, cabinetry, full kitchens, and they're like, what do I do with it? I don't need it. It's not garbage. They don't really know how to sell it or don't want to deal with selling it, right? Because that's a whole other thing. So for my clients in particular, I started a consignment shop online, only on Instagram really, because I don't know where the items could be all over the place. But so I started online, really was just to fill that need. The only places to do it was to either sell it yourself or donate it to Habitat for Humanity or donate it to Goodwill. And it just, sometimes you want a little extra cash in your pocket. And so again, I call these pre-loved items because they're not junk. It's not junk, it's usable stuff. Maybe you're DIYing it, right? Maybe you're furniture DIY or whatever it is. And so essentially takes the stress off of them from having to worry about it. We get a little piece of the pie for managing it. And everyone's happy in the end. It's not ending up in a landfill, right? Being in this industry, a lot of stuff is going in the garbage, and it drives me crazy. For sure. Again, I could go on so many different tangents about this. It's all of our planet. And so, yeah, I hate that it's going in the landfill. I hate that it would go to garbage. And it's usable things. And so then back to almost your real estate piece that's ultimately where some of these pieces can get used. So you got an older kitchen, it can get repainted and stuck in a rental, and it's still good cabinetry, maybe better than what was there. So yeah, the premise is essentially just to get my clients
some extra cash,
but then not worrying about it, right? When we're tearing apart your house, it can be stressful, and there's a lot of moving parts. And so it is just taking a little bit more off of their plate as well.
So I have a concept. I think we talked a little bit about my turnkey solutions for building a portfolio in real estate. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with that. It's I want to be able to take the stress away of, oh, you want to build a portfolio? Where do I start? Well, I know where to start, and I know kind of a path. And I want to take the stress away from, that process of actually building that portfolio. So I get to point. You're doing the same thing but it's cool that you're client focused. And that's
Always.
why I think we connect is we're client focused. We're trying to provide an experience, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you're doing.
It is. It is an experience, and finding the right people to walk you through it. I had talked. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it on my own stuff, but putting together that team, and what we're even talking about here, it can translate into so many different areas of other people's lives, different industries, and all of that stuff. And so, putting together that team is really important because, again, what's your goal? So is it, I'm renovating this space, or I'm buying this house and I don't want to be involved at all? Or is it, hey, like I actually have some good creative ideas, I just don't know how to put it all together. So it's, then almost meeting the clients where they're at and still making it a stress-free journey, maybe stress less.
Stress less. No,
Stress less. It's never stress-free. But yeah, just that experience because and I'm going to sound so philosophical here, guys, but it's a journey, just like life. And so if your only end goal is just to get to the end, you're missing everything in the beginning, and there's a lot in the middle. There's a lot to learn in there. There's a lot to take in and then apply to your life, right? So I'll tell this little quick story. So I've got a client right now, absolutely precious. I love her. But every step is very stressful because it's all new. She's never done this before. It's a lot of money that's going out. And so before all the money started getting passed around, I gave her a little heart to heart and I said, listen, I know how this is going to feel. Like you're just like handing it all over, dishing it out. Who do I got to pay next? Thousands? Sure, here you go. I said, try not to think about how much you're giving and try to think about how much you're getting. And so yes, we're going to rip things apart and you're going to see all that. And then slowly you're going to see it getting built back together. So try to just like hold on to the value that you're getting and enjoying that process. Oh my gosh, I love these floors. This is beautiful. Great. What's next?
Yes.
But what did you learn there? When we picked out the floor, and it sounds so silly, but
No, it's 100%. Everything you just said could be applied to first-time home buying.
yeah.
That's how a first-time home buyer feels. They're going through this process. They're shaky. They finally get this deal. Then they're just like, okay,
What next?
I need an appraisal. All right, how much does that cost? How much does the lending cost? How much does setting up my utility? All these things that we're talking about, and I walk people through it all the time. And what you just said is 100% how most first-time homebuyers feel.
Yes.
Is a little bit of anxiousness.
Yeah.
So
I could say that too.
Yeah,
when we bought our first, and you know what? I wouldn't even say first time, if I'm being honest
Every
here.
time?
Every time. You don't, because again, every deal is different. Every house is different. So whether you're upgrading or downsizing, it's different. So are you selling things or are you buying things? And so I want to say everyone.
No, it's all applicable for both sides. Selling a house, even the mortgages, every deal is different. People are always like, oh, what do we do? How long does it take to get approval, or how long does it take to? It depends on the situation. It depends on the different parameters, right?
Yep.
But so one thing that's sticking in my mind is, because I'm huge on this. This is why. So the team.
Yes.
You said it's important that the team you work with. And honestly, I'm at LendCity. I looked at everywhere in the city of what's a brokerage I want to join as a mortgage agent. And the reason I joined was the team. Meaning, well, Scott Dillingham, he's a go-getter. He's killed it in this industry, and he's focused on this firm. Like LendCity is specifically focused on investors. And he was talking about how the admins would do this, and then we have these marketers, these two professionals here watching behind the screens, this marketing team that can market you and produce content, and so all of these things were like, wow, I want to be a part of that team, and why I got into real estate in general is like, I want the realtor I work with, the mortgage agent I work with, I get to choose my contractor. I know everybody, my lawyer. All of these people I work with because I like them. You know, they provide me a service. For sure, it's usually high quality, but it's sometimes somebody might be able to do something more. But I like the experience with the team. So tell me about what kind of teammates or who is important in the interior design stuff. Tell me some experiences about your team that you're trying to build.
So I feel like I've got different teams in different areas because, again, not to sound like a broken record, but every project is different. And so, what I heard from even just you speaking there, though, and so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it still will come down to that passion. And I find that I align with people who have that passion and who genuinely look at what they do as an art form. Right? Yes, this is a job. Yes, we have bills to pay. But when you only look at it from that standpoint, you're not going to be as dedicated, maybe is the right word there. So I've worked with a lot of different people through the years, and maybe, I don't want to say the unfortunate reality, but you have to just do it first and then figure out how you're working together and then adjust. So if who you just worked with is like, hey man, this was great, but I think we can improve here. Awesome, let's do that next time. Whereas if someone else is like, hey man, this didn't work. I didn't like any of it. And I do it like this and that's it. Well, then to me, that's not very collaborative.
Yes.
So I'm always looking for people who are going to collaborate. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm the designer, I know everything, and you have to do it this way because this is how I've always done it. That's 1000% not at all how I go about my business. So I'm looking for people who are just going to play off of my ideas, right? I'll come up with these crazy ideas and they're going to tell me whether or not we can do it. Yes, but as opposed to just, oh, that's not going to work. Yeah. Well, why? Why won't it work? Because if this is what's best for you, and you, then how can we make it work?
For sure.
How can we get to that, just keeping it a conversation instead of just sort of cutting it off?
So what I'm getting is it's important to have a team that is passionate, dedicated, and collaborative, right?
Yes.
And I think one other thing that I throw in there is, can I work with them? Can I grow with them?
Yes.
And so that's why I love young professionals. I don't go to the person selling the most real estate, or I go to kind of the person who's going to give me, like, the reason that my realtor, I was his first deal. It was years ago, but I was his first deal, and we've been together, and he's only got better and better. And he provides me a level of service that a realtor who's, could not provide, right? He responds to me within an hour. I talk to him probably, 7 days in a week? I talk to him about 7 days a week. And at least through text or voice, and we have a way that we've defined how do we communicate. So in your, those 9 years, are there key, I guess, individuals you've kind of had that bond with?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. And again, you won't really know until you do it. I know that I found, yes, I can interview 100 people, but when you are in the moment of this isn't working or whatever shit hit the fan at that time, and if they're going to team up and talk about it, that's how you really, really know. So other than that, you just have to do it and you roll with the punches and go from there. But it's taken years to figure it out because, again, someone who's great for one job might not be great for the next. There's really custom things, and like we've talked about, then there's the really investment side of things. And so, for example, I've got a couple of agents right now, and they're doing some very fancy footwork on the back end of things. I can't say anything about it, but they needed a construction team that could do things like essentially 24 hours. They had, I want to say, like 8 weeks to completely renovate an entire home. That's time crunch, baby. That is, you are here till midnight, man. Can you stay? Like, are you willing to do that? And so, again, how much do you love your craft? How passionate are you about it? Or, I don't work those hours.
No, I get it. The attitude. So
yes.
We're adding to this list now. We have communication is another thing we just picked up. Attitude. Okay, so we're adding all of the ingredients of the teamwork.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I guess shifting to, tell me, I want to hire an interior designer consultant. I contact you. What does it look like? What does the process look like? Speak into that camera and give your pitch to somebody looking to hire you, and hopefully before they sell a property or when they're buying a property. So please tell me.
In all honesty, whatever stage you're at, in the design process and the buying process, anything like that, it's always worth a consult. So whether you're looking for an entire presentation or you just want some suggestions, advice, second set of eyes, anything like that, it's always worth seeking professional advice, even if you don't keep going the distance with them. Every intake process is different. For me, it's just fill out a quick form. We hop on a phone call. We see if we're a right fit together, because as much as you're picking me, I'm picking you. We both have to align, and we go from there. If we drive on the phone call, we book a consultation, and everything is you're leading the way, and it's a collaboration.
Everything's a collaboration for sure. That's what our theme is.
It's got to be.
And then what about when they sell those properties? Like, do you celebrate that? Or like,
I mean, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say so. And it depends what we actually ended up designing in those spaces.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of what I've done has been for their forever home. And so to make it function specifically for them is usually the goal. But looks wise, we can always make it work. And so, yes, if they sell that home and they sold it for what they wanted, needed, anything like that, bonus. We'll pop some champagne and however you guys want to celebrate, I'm game.
So I guess shifting a little bit to, what about condos? I know interior designers, have you done?
I have.
Yeah. So tell me about that
It was a pain in the ass.
Designing a condo.
No, not designing. The construction part of it, actually getting it done, was a pain in the butt. So designing it was great.
Okay.
But in a condo building, there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of restrictions. And when you've got tools that you've got to lug up and down. And so as much as I will always design things, I love designing things, but I am involved in a lot of the construction process of it as well.
So like you go there and watch it?
I mean, I don't have a camera set up, but it is part of my job to make sure that what we've specified and how we've specified it is actually getting played out. And so again, the communication piece is huge. But if you're thinking of renovating a condo and you don't have a balcony, right? We're cutting tiles, we're cutting flooring. It's a process. And sometimes you have to use their own in-house plumbers and electricians. And there's only certain service elevators that you can use. And there's only certain times of day that you can even get the work done. So I loved it. As far as the designing aspect, my clients were phenomenal and the view is beautiful.
Nice. So you were going there often.
Yes.
It's just I just was interested in, I know interior design in condos makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because you got to utilize every space, right?
Yes.
So for me, I have a small kitchen. I want to add an island. I want to think my house is, different. And what would you, you would just come to my house, we'd have the meeting, I'd tell you kind of verbally what happens, and then that would be, that's how it starts and that's how we would go through it, or?
Definitely how it starts. So we have a conversation. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. And some of these questions might have, nothing to do with the room. And again, everything to do with how you're going to use it, how you want to feel in the space. That is huge.
Yeah, how you feel in each room, right?
Yes.
That's the key, right?
Yes.
And that's when you have a complete home, every room has a purpose.
Yep. Every room has a purpose. Everything has a place. And I mean, it's your home. It should be your safe space. You should feel good in here, or however you want to feel, energized, awake, whatever that feeling is that you're after. And so I'll ask you a lot of questions about that. And then I put together a proposal for you. So I put together a proposal with inspiration, a color scheme, sometimes a rough layout on, again, just my initial suggestions. So at that time, we haven't started the collaboration just yet, right? It is still, I sort of have to prove myself a little bit. So I'll put together that presentation and then we get a chance to talk about it.
What do you have going on? What do you want people to know? That's one of the...
So much.
Yeah, what do you want people to know? Give your plugs. Do it. Let me hear what you
What
got.
I really, really want you guys to know is that you're worthy of an interior designer. It's not a luxury. It is a necessity. How you feel and how you work and how you live in your space, the same way that you would go to a doctor. Just get that outside perspective. What I've got going on right now is always geared towards homeowners. So I just started a Facebook community called Design Decisions with Cass. It's a free group, totally welcome to join. We've got a lot of fun stuff going on in there, and it's only going to get better from here. And then obviously, if you've got any questions, reach out. So I'm on Instagram, Cass Design Studio. I'm all over Facebook. I've got portfolio projects sitting on my website, and I'm just really eager to connect with anyone who's just open to having that conversation. I'm not going to beat up your space, I promise, but how can we make it better? And you actually enjoy it and have that quality of life when you walk into the room.
And I would just, it's Cass with a K.
Yes, it is. Cass with a K.
No, so I'm in that consignment group. I think I might be the first one in there. I remember when you created it, I was on it.
Yep.
I'm following. I see a lot of your consignment stuff. And a lot of what you're doing, I'm interested in. So yeah, I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
I probably have a top fan tag on my Facebook.
I'll let those badges run out, right? We'll have you on as a guest speaker. So I should say that as well is, through the last 9 years, let's say, I have established a lot of relationships with different people, and I will be bringing every single one of you guys into this community and into the group. So if you guys are looking to learn, even if you're not ready to hire, this is definitely the space to do that.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I think so. A lot of the interior design stuff I relate to my world in terms of mortgages and even real estate coach, because we're trying to create the same thing. We want to create a community here at LendCity. Before COVID, we used to have presentations in our space upstairs. Those are coming back. The first week of June, we have like a investor kind of meetup or a first time home buyers. We're going to do this once a month to have different events here. I hope you can come to one of our events.
I would love to.
But yeah, it's the reason I'm saying it, it's community. We want to create a community. We want to be not just your mortgage agents, like where you can call us when you need to refinance or purchase. But if you have general questions around adding value or, we want to stay in touch with you. And that's important to us. That's a core value of who we are as a company.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar, right? It's not just call me when your renewal. No, like I want to know what's going on and be a part of it the best I can. And as a mortgage agent, one of the things that I go above and beyond is, one, I know interior designers. I know the construction people. I work really hard. Like I have a noted-time buyer, and she made an offer on a property. And I actually, this week, I went there and I made videos for her and took photos for her. Like, I will go above and beyond what a mortgage agent will do. And that's what's unique to the service that I can provide to people. And I think that you're the same way. Above and beyond is our goal. I
definitely have. It's probably gotten me in hot water, though. We don't want to get taken advantage of. But yes, above and beyond because I care.
Yeah, it's passion, right?
Yeah.
It's okay if it's passion.
Yeah.
So, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah, it's short and sweet, and I hope somebody gets value from what they've heard. We're here in LendCity offices in their studio. And thank you for listening. And please, I'm always going to plug Canadian Real Estate Network. If you want to hear more about articles on everything you can think about real estate. Maybe we're going to have to do an interior design piece. Canadian Real Estate Network. Google it. You will see us. Thank you very much.